Welcome to the first episode in the new era of Across the Goal Line. I'm your host, the Encyclopedia of Sports, Luke Austin. Across the Goal Line is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Links are in the description below. Any photos or sounds that you hear during this episode of Across the Goal Line in this video, I do not take credit for, other than Across the Goal Line's picture and this audio recording. Anything else, I do not take credit for. So, as I said, this is the first episode in the new era of Across the Goal Line. I am doing this by myself now. I have been doing this by myself for quite some time now. It's just somewhat of a rebranding. I am still keeping the name. All the social media sites that I have said, the links are in the description below. I just wanted to, freshen it up and make it feel like, I'm starting over, and, I got a bright future to, look ahead to with this. So, I guess without wasting any more time, I will get into what I'm going to be talking about in this video. College football, week 12 already. I went 11-6 last week. If you don't know, I make predictions, tell you what I think, what's going to happen with the games, and into the future as well. So I do that, and then I recap the next week. So as I said, this is week 12, so I'll recap week 11 and then preview week 12. I went 11-6 last week, week 11, for the second straight week as well, which brought my record for the year to 109 wins and 59 losses. So I've predicted 109 correct games, and I've messed up and wrongly incorrected 59 games. Games this past weekend, I'm going to go through here real quick, that I predicted. Stanford defeated Washington on the road, at home, and won by a score of 30-22. Penn State beat Rutgers at home, scored 35 unanswered, defeated the Scarlet Knights 35-6. LSU beat Arkansas 33-10. Oklahoma State and Iowa State played in the best game of the week, I thought, and Oklahoma State won 49-42. Army beat Duke 21-16. That Army-Navy game, beginning of December, might be the best, on paper going into the game, might be the best Army-Navy game in history. Both teams are pretty damn good this year, especially Army. Army, last time they had this many wins, 1996. Minnesota beat Nebraska at home, 54-21. That game got off to a rough start for the Cornhuskers. Minnesota returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. Ohio State absolutely manslaughtered Michigan State 48-3. NC State went on the road, beat Boston College by 3, 17-14. Georgia Tech defeated Virginia Tech 28-22, somewhat of an upset there. Auburn beat the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs 40-17. West Virginia went to Manhattan, Kansas, and beat Bill Snyder's squad 28-23. Wisconsin beat Iowa at home 38-14. That game, Iowa was in it there, middle of the third quarter, only down 3. And then that botched snap. Quarterback was not paying attention. And Wisconsin recovered it, scooped it up, and returned it for a touchdown. Game got out of hand, I thought, after that, which led to Wisconsin picking up the win and winning 38-14. Iowa, they were my disappointing team of the week, just 1 week after they beat Ohio State and put up 55 on the Buckeyes the week before. So next game was Louisville and Virginia. Louisville defeated Virginia 38-21. USC went to Boulder, Colorado, defeated the Buffs 38-24. Alabama beat Mississippi State, and they hung on and beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State had them right where they wanted them, but the Crimson Tide pulled it out in the end, won by 7, 31-24. Oklahoma defeated TCU at home, another strong performance by the now frontrunner for the Heisman, Baker Mayfield. They defeated TCU 38-20. And then Miami, Florida, and the turnover chain, defeated Notre Dame 41-8. The U is back. They are currently in the top 5 in the AP poll. College football playoff rankings come out tonight. You have probably seen some pictures, already scrolling on your screen. As I said, the college football playoff rankings come out tonight at 9, in between the two marquee college basketball games to kick off the year between Duke and Michigan State and Kentucky and Kansas, as today is Tuesday, November the 14th, 2017. Miami, as I said, they're in the top 5 in the AP. College football playoff rankings are set because their college football playoff rankings haven't come out yet. But I think Miami will be in the top 5 in the new college football playoff rankings. I think Alabama's going to be 1, Oklahoma 2, Miami 3, Clemson 4, and then Wisconsin 5. Where was I at? Just got done recapping last week. As I said, Miami and the turnover chain defeated Notre Dame 41-8. Biggest upset, Stanford over Washington and Georgia Tech over Virginia Tech, just because Washington and Virginia Tech were both ranked and both Stanford and Georgia Tech were not. So somewhat of an upset there. As I said, Mississippi State came close to beating Alabama at home. The Crimson Tide pulled it out in the end, as I said, won by 7. But then other than that, I really didn't think there was an upset this past weekend in the world of college football. Best game already went over, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, I thought. And then impressed and disappointed. Disappointed, I already said Iowa, and then impressed, Miami, Florida, the Hurricanes. A lot of people have been saying this year that Miami hasn't won a big game lately, or haven't won handily. Well, they just defeated the third-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish at home 41-8. So if that's not winning pretty handily, I don't know what is. As I said, the U is back, in my opinion. Maybe they'll be in the Final Four at the end of the year, playing in the semifinal games, and then maybe playing in the national championship game in Atlanta come January. Already went over college football playoff rankings, the top 5 for me, so that they don't come out until tonight. I'm recording this currently 4/22 on November 14th, 2017, so you've probably seen some pictures as well of some head coaches. I'll get into the beginning of the coaching carousel in the world of college football. Jim McElwain stepped down as he and Florida decided to part ways last Monday after they lost to Georgia 42-7. Randy Shannon, as I said last week in my Week 11 predictions, is now the interim head coach. But then that was just the start. Butch Jones was just fired by Tennessee on Sunday around lunchtime. Brady Hoke, former Michigan head coach, is now the interim head coach for the Tennessee Volunteers. Both teams now will begin the search for their next head football coach. I do have a list here of candidates who I think would be good for either one or both jobs. I'll start with Matt Campbell from Iowa State. I think he'd be good for either Tennessee or Florida. Taking the step from Toledo a couple years ago to go to Ames, Iowa to Iowa State. I think he makes the jump again, Iowa State to either Tennessee or Florida. Now, Texas A&M job might open up. They might fire Kevin Sumlin. The Nebraska job might open up. They might fire Mike Riley. Those places I think would be good for him as well. So keep an eye out for Matt Campbell going to, either Tennessee, Florida, Nebraska, or Texas A&M. Dan Mullen, I don't think he would leave Mississippi State to go to Tennessee. However, I do think Dan Mullen would leave Mississippi State to go to Florida. Former coordinator at Florida under Urban Meyer when they won 2 national championships in 3 seasons when he had Tim Tebow as his quarterback. The Florida Gators, they and the fans want offense. I think Dan Mullen could bring offense to Gainesville. Dan Mullen, I think, would be a great fit with the Florida Gators, so keep an eye out for Dan Mullen going to Florida. Scott Frost, just Florida, not Tennessee. As I said, the Nebraska job might open up as well. He's a former quarterback at Nebraska, so I think it's either Florida or Nebraska for Scott Frost. He did turn down the Oregon job a couple years ago after both Chip Kelly and Mark Helfrich left Eugene, so we'll have to see what happens with Scott Frost. I've heard he might stay at Central Florida for another year or two, but I deep down truly believe if the Nebraska job opens up, I think Scott Frost will be the new head coach for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Kyle Whittingham is another guy, Utah head coach currently. I think he could either go to A&M, Tennessee, or Florida. Would Florida make another hire to go out and get a Utah head coach, as they once did with Urban Meyer? We all saw what happened there. He brought a couple of national championships to Gainesville. So another guy is Chad Morris, maybe. I think A&M. Now, as I said, Nebraska and A&M, they still haven't fired their head coaches. Who knows if they will? But I think Morris would be good for A&M at 1, and then Tennessee 2, Florida 3, and Nebraska 4. If Florida might make a another recent hire, I guess you could say. They could go after Mike Bobo, who is currently the Colorado State head coach. Jim McElwain was the Colorado State head coach before Florida hired him. So Florida could go either to Utah or Colorado State to bring in their next head coach, as they once did, before with Urban Meyer and Jim McElwain. Mike Norvell at Memphis. I think Tennessee would be a good fit for him if he decides to leave Memphis to go to Knoxville. Greg Schiano, I think he would be perfect at Iowa State. If Matt Campbell leaves to go wherever, I think Greg Schiano, currently the defensive coordinator for Ohio State, former Rutgers and Tampa Bay Buccaneer head coach, I think he would be perfect in Ames with the Cyclones. And then Chip Kelly and John Gruden, Florida, as I said, they want offense. Chip Kelly's known for offense, especially in college. At Oregon, not so much in the NFL with the Eagles or San Francisco 49ers. I think he would be perfect at Florida. I think Florida needs to go after Chip Kelly, and I think Tennessee needs to go after John Gruden. Another name is David Cutcliffe. Pitcher is not in this video. Just thought of him off the top of my head. He has ties to Tennessee. Currently the Duke head coach. Duke's sort of having a down year this year. He's had success. He's really turned that program around. That's what Tennessee needs right now. They need somebody to come in, turn their program around. I think Cutcliffe would be good as well, but I think Florida needs to go after Chip Kelly, and Tennessee needs to go after John Gruden. Now, games this weekend, tomorrow night, November 15th, we got a game in the MAC, a little MACtion. Western Michigan and Northern Illinois. Western Michigan picked up their 6th win of the year last week, are now bowl eligible. I think they get win number 7. Texas and West Virginia and Morgantown. I could see Texas coming in, picking up the win. West Virginia, a little hungover after 2 decent wins against Iowa State and Kansas State in recent weeks. But I think West Virginia, because they're playing at home, will win. TCU, I think, will get back on track against Texas Tech. Minnesota, they just put out 54 on Nebraska, but they have to go to Evanston, Illinois now and play Northwestern. I think Northwestern's going to win. Michigan then goes to Wisconsin. Camp Randall's going to be rocking on senior day. College game day is going to be there as well. Wisconsin will win, get to win number 11, show the playoff committee that they can beat big teams in big-time games. Virginia then goes to Miami, Florida. I think the Hurricanes will win out and make the playoff. Central Florida then and Temple. I think Temple's going to upset Central Florida. And then I think this gets to Scott Frost a little bit, and I think he ends up leaving Orlando to go to Lincoln if they do decide to fire Mike Riley at the end of the year. Fresno State then in Wyoming in the Mountain West. Josh Allen's going to win Wyoming in this game. Kentucky and Georgia, 3:30 on CBS. Georgia, I think, will also get back on track as they lost their number 1 ranking as they lost to Auburn on Saturday. So they got blown out on the road, lost by 23. So I think Georgia will get back on track playing at home. Kansas State goes to Stillwater to play Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State will win. Navy, I think, goes to South Bend, upsets the Fighting Irish. Purdue goes to Iowa. Iowa will win. Nebraska goes to Penn State. Penn State will win. LSU goes to Tennessee. Tennessee just fired Butch Jones. Their season's done. It's been done since week 1, basically. LSU's going to win. Wake Forest, they host NC State. Wake Forest is still alive in the ACC. Really getting overshadowed, if you ask me, by Clemson, NC State, who they play, and Miami, Florida. I think Wake Forest will win. And then you got the Battle of Los Angeles between UCLA and USC. USC is playing at home, so I'm going to take the Fighting Trojans. Fight on. This has been Across the Goal Line. If you haven't already, go follow on social media. Links are in the description below. As I said, I do not own any content other than my own, which are Across the Goal Line picture and this audio recording.